So I want to ask you, as you're talking about upholding um, a tradition and upholding practices,
Uh-huh.
positive ones, not
Hmm.
the corporal punishment ones. I'm thinking of one thing that I see, and I have seen often on the internet and on travel shows, for example. So you've probably seen this before too. It's like the host of the show, usually a white male,
Hmm.
um, will go to the low country, South Carolina,
Hmm.
and they'll uncover all of the interesting parts of the cuisine of Geechee culture.
Hmm.
Um, they'll talk about these traditions, they'll talk about the language. And it always struck me as odd because I always think like it's still this white person from outside of the culture coming into the culture to uncover something that is in already in plain sight, you know?
Right.
And um I always think that that paints a very inauthentic picture of what the culture um an inauthentic picture of what the culture represents and who the people truly are in this culture. And I think what ends up happening is that people do hear Gullah Geechee and they think it's like a mystical, magical, like Brigadoon type of existence for, in America. So my question
Mm.
really is, as outsiders, as people who want to experience the culture or want to engage with the culture in some way, how can we do that responsibly? How can we relate to it authentically without tokenizing, without making
Right.
it seem like it's uh, something for the taking.
I think that one aspect of it is well, okay, there's two answers. If you're talking about media versus the average person, when you say we, my brain automatically creates categories of we. I'm like, okay, it depends on which we talk about, but there's different categories of we. Because there are things that I would be more open to if a person is just a civilian. You're just a regular person off the street, curious about something. There are conversations I would have with that person that I probably wouldn't have if they were media.
Right.
If like you should know better. Like if you're someone who's in a position, especially if you're going to commoditize the thing that I'm telling you about, if you're going to somehow turn the thing that I've done into a product, um, we got a different kind of conversation to have than if you're just, you know, Bob and Jen coming down to visit and wanted to know where they can get some good authentic Gullah,
Hmm.
food or whatever. I get stuff like that all the time. That's cool. But when you're some of the media companies who you already have your mind made up. You already have what it is you're coming to cover. You know what it is you're looking to do. Now you don't know much about Gullah Geechee people, but you already know how you intend to present them before you even meet one.
Mm.
And that's a problem. If by the time you have a discussion with me, you say, "Oh yeah, we were looking to do a feature on Gullah Geechee people about XYZ based on ABC."
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, but what about DEF? Well, we're not going to cover DEF. That's a separate thing. That's not really our in our wheelhouse. It's not really what we do. But I'll we'll let's bracket that. Let's bracket that. We'll bracket that for later, and maybe circle back around to that. You not circle around to it because that's not what you do.
Right.
Well, we really focus more on the this aspect of things, and we were trying to see how that could fit into this. And I'm like, how about if it doesn't fit into the thing you do, you just find something that does.
Right.
Instead of trying to contort, twist, and distort this into the product that you want it to be, why don't you just go ahead and present it for what it is, or move on to something that's in your wheelhouse?
Mhm.
Because I don't want to help you misrepresent the culture.
Right.
All right. There's a very narrow straight of how the media intends to present Gullah Geechee culture. If it isn't already obvious, it's it should be clear by now. Like, okay, food, it's gonna be food. When you start talking about Gullah Geechee culture, it is going to be food
Mhm.
and or painting slash weaving.
Hmm.
So it's going to be in the, and I don't mean, when I say painting, I don't mean a wide variety of artistic styles. There's a very specific look that they're looking for with the styles. Now, of course, I'm not going to name names, but there's a very specific style that they're looking for
Okay.
Gullah art.
Mhm.
And if you were an artist and that ain't your style, they don't count you as a Gullah artist.
Wow.
Okay? Because your style is not, you know, in alignment with the thing that they have an appetite for.
Mhm.
And I know artists who have, oh man, just the visuals, just the stuff that they do is just so dope. But it's not that look.
Mhm.
I know people who are craftspersons who do, but it's not basket weaving. So because you're not basket weaving, then you don't really count as a Gullah artisan.
Mhm.
You know, our Palmetto Rose, we'll take that. Although we're trying to figure out ways to demonize and criminalize the kids who do those things, um, we're not going to count that.
Mhm.
If you're a cook, God bless the Gullah Geechee sushi chef. You don't count. You know, it's a very specific type of way, specific type of food that you need to do in
Mhm.
order to count. But if you're a Gullah Geechee graphic designer,
Mhm.
you don't count as an artist. If you're a Gullah Geechee performer or singer who doesn't sing certain traditional styles, traditional songs or whatever, then you don't count as strictly as a Gullah Geechee act. You might be an act of Gullah Geechee descent,
Mm.
but you're not necessarily a Gullah Geechee artist.
Mhm.
In the minds of people, if you're unless you're like maybe a ring shouter, then you count because you can present that traditional look and sound that there's an appetite for. But who are we doing that for?
Mhm.
Are we doing that for ourselves? Are we doing that for the Buckradem
Mhm.
and their gays? Because in the community, there are times when Gullah Geechee people will look at another Gullah Geechee people like, man, keep still. Like, you doing too much.
Mm.
Everybody know that's performative. That ain't how you talk. And that's not how you even do the thing when you doing or whatever. You're doing that because the Buckradem around.
Mhm.
You're doing that for them, boy. That's what you're doing that for. And when they become the tastemakers, when
Mm.
you let other people become the tastemakers, you find yourself taking out certain ingredients in your food that might offend them. And now all of a sudden, look at your traditional dish. Is that still the traditional dish at all when you let them dictate? There's some people that if you go to certain Italian restaurants and you ask them for certain things, they will usher you to the door. We don't do that.
Mm.
If you say, "Hey, can I get that pizza with some pineapples on it?" Then, bruh, you got to get up out here.
Beat it.
You got to go, bruh. There's certain things that an authentic Italian restaurant ain't gonna serve you, and you might get a cooking lesson at your table before even asking.
Mhm.
We often, on the other hand, Say, oh, you don't like this and that? We'll take it out. You don't want it? Okay, hold the, you can get the gumbo, hold the okra. Hold the okra? How you can hold the okra? What are you talking about? Yeah, we're gonna get the, the Hop and John, no hold the beans, no beans. What? We do Hop and John with lentils.
Oh
Bro,
boy.
we not doing Hop and John with lentils, man. Quit playing. Stop. Call it something else.
Right.
And so that's the thing is we keep form fitting and shaping and twisting our presentation and performance of Gullah Geechee-ness for people who are not Gullah Geechee. And the thing is, the problem with that, among other things, is that people who are coming into their own as Gullah Geechee people, maybe young people who are growing up, coming up, who don't know exactly what it means to be Gullah Geechee, see the most popular presentations of it, and then they start to emulate that.
Right.
And so, ironically, the emulation of things that are reflections of outside tastes and outside opinions ends up shaping what is authentic Gullah Geechee, because now that next generation that grew up on that processed presentation of who we were, that to them that's real.
Mm.
Now that is what it is. It has become the reality of who we are and what we do and how we present ourselves to the world. And so to me, that's why it's not that I have, traditional African garments right there. I'm not exactly adverse to, African culture or whatever, as well. But I also ride a skateboard.
Mm.
I also wear jeans and Vans, and like I also like wear stuff that is not necessarily traditional garb all the time. And the reason being, other than the fact that I just feel like doing it,
Mm.
um, is because I don't want most of my viewers and my listeners, and particularly because I teach young kids as well. I don't know how many people know that, but I'm not just teaching at Harvard, but also with young kids, including with Harvard Project Teach, where I end up, doing classes with seventh graders, but I also teach in the community, younger kids. And, I show up looking like they do, show up wearing the same sneakers they wear, the same jeans they wear, like in the same stuff. Not, I'm not like I have a pan complex. I don't show up looking crazy, but I'm saying it is in a general sense. They see a presentation of Gullah Geechee culture that looks like them,
Mm.
sounds like them, talks like them. They don't feel alienated from their own culture. If
Mhm.
the only thing they ever see is out of reach because they do not have the money to be able to afford a good fugu, and they'll get clowned if they wear one of the dashikis that you can get from a dollar store, or the one of the less expensive Chinese made dashikis. You'll get clowned, but you can't even afford anything other than that $5-10 dashiki.
Mhm.
So if you don't wear that because the people in the culture will clown you, and you can't afford one of the more traditional, authentic ones, you're gonna wear what you got.
Right.
Your traditional, gear might be a white tee. It might be a t-shirt or a jersey or whatever. That's what you got. And you know what? You ain't no less Gullah Geechee than the person who can afford those traditional garments.
Mhm.
And so representation matters, but we have to start thinking in terms of what it is that we're representing.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
putting a black face on it is not enough. It's the whole embodiment of the culture and who you're representing. So
Mhm.
that's what I try to do in regards to these traditions. But you know what? Traditions are not simply past tense.
Mhm.
Create some new ones.
Right.
We can
Right.
do that.